Hello?
Testing.
Good.
Yeah. Testing.
Okay.
Hello, hello.
Troy, you're good?
Wait, do I have a mic too?
Yeah, you should have a mic. I think you're
I didn't see it.
No, we have 5 mics. Oh, there's 4 mics in this room? Oh, yeah, because we were 3 earlier. I have your mic. Yeah, you're right. Hello, everyone. Just like a little anecdote before we start off. Troy, we met when I came onto the Toronto scene, and he's been like a huge supporter of everything that I do in Toronto and in Montreal. So he's just amazing on all levels. And he pulled me aside last year, and he's like, yo, Nicole, like your event. Sorry, I'm putting us on the spot. I hope you don't mind. He's a little shy. So he's like, yo, Nicole, your event. He doesn't sound like that, but I just felt like it adds to the story. Okay, yo, Nicole, your event, like it was so good. But like I would love if like there was like just a man space. And I'm like, a man space, like a den, like you want a man cave, like. And he's like, no, like just a space for like men to exchange. And I'm like you guys have Sundays. Now you guys have Mondays, sometimes Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm talking about the NFL schedule for the women in the room. So I'm like, those are your times to, no, like on a deeper level. And that stayed in my brain. And I was like, how can we cultivate a space together? Because I don't know the POV. I can't begin to understand the POV and the hardships of Black men and the realities that you guys face. And then we started like thinking about how can we plot and do this. And then I had a separate conversation with my friend over here from BDC, and he had a vulnerable moment with me, and I was like, Troy might be onto something. And it just evolved and grew. And it really inspired our campaign. So the beautiful imagery, usually it's 95% women, 5% men. Last year we went a little bit more. It was like maybe 80% women, 20% men, because I'm looking at like my target audience, who's buying the tickets and so forth. But this year we kind of flipped it, and it was mostly men. And so you can cry, you can clap. No, but honestly, like, and these men came, some of these models might be in the room. I don't want to put them on the spot, but like, they look pretty dope. But like, they allowed us to like put flowers in their hair, put flowers from their collar. I'm like, are you comfortable with this? They're like, yeah, like, let's go. And I'm like, even me, I had my own stereotype of the softness and the openness and the vulnerability of Black men. So I hope that you guys all leave here with some encouragement, some empowerment. Know that this is a safe space, okay? And this space was designed for you. And when I say you, I mean the Black men in the room. The women, we can get some tips, you know, like understand a little bit the psyche, but be selfish. Like, this moment is for you. Ask the questions, okay? And the women in the room, let's leave the questions for the men, okay? We have so many spaces, not enough, but we have a lot. Let's prioritize them tonight. And they deserve the flowers. No pun intended, maybe pun intended. So I'll let you guys take it off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate it. And I guess I'll join in on the anecdote. So last year, you know, amazing, BLAXPO was amazing. My head was just blown, and like you'll see some videos of me dancing because I like to dance. I love to dance. Okay, so but there was just a moment where one of the speakers, like, it was because I know BLAXPO is a space for all of us, you know, but it was just a moment where like it felt like, you know, there's a big shout out to the women. Yeah, Black women were doing it, and I was like, we're here too. You know, I was like, we're here as well, you know? And I know I was like, okay, we're in the room celebrating the women, but I'm like, the brothers are here as well too. But of course, like, you know, we got to see Nicole's husband and stuff like that. And like, you know, I feel like black men, sometimes we're inviting ourselves into y'all spaces, but it's just like, when it's a space for us, we should be acknowledged as well. So I talked to Nicole about it. She's like, let's do it. You know, I want you to feel supported, and I'm just so thankful. So I want to give a round of applause to you as well too for inviting us into this space and having this panel, because I think it's very important that we're celebrating each other, because society's trying to pin us against each other right now. So you know, we need to be loving and supportive of one another. So I guess we'll just do introductions first, if you guys don't mind. So my name is Troy Crossfield. I'm a writer, filmmaker, director, and I have a men's group called Iron Sharpens Iron. And I'm also in the tech space as well, so that's who I am.
Morning. How's everyone doing? That sucked. We'll practice.
Amazing. Good.
Oh, you're responding.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to hype the crowd up.
I wanted all the
A
smoke.
little too loud,
I
sorry.
was joking. No, my name is Dr. Warren Clarke. Please address me as Warren. I'm just doing the formalities. But assistant professor, University of Manitoba, in the socioculture anthropology department, focus on black masculinities, neoliberalism, anti-colonialism, decolonization. Also, I've been very humbled and honored to lead a program that's not only across Canada but internationally, the Barbershop Talk, Black Men and Misconceptions. If you don't know, now you know. I was listening to Biggie in the car, so there you go. And also leading a mentorship group program that's across Canada called the Afro-Caribbean Mentorship Program. So very humbled to do this work and very honored to be here, so thank you.
So hello everyone, my name is Tchomba. I'm a fourth-year resident in psychiatry. I'm actually in Montreal, so my first language is French, so be humble with me with my English, but okay. So I did my med school studies in Sherbrooke. I did 1 year in pharmacy as well in Quebec. Now I'm doing my psychiatry. I'm being a psychiatrist in a year and a half. So right now I work in many... Right now I work in many hospitals around Montreal, and I really wanted to choose a specific specialty of medicine where I felt that I could bring in a change, where I felt that I could make a difference. And when I think about mental health and black people, I feel that we have a voice that can actually change not only our generations, but the generations to come. So I'm really grateful for this place, and I hope that we can exchange together and build our community up. Thank you.
And hi, everybody. I'm Jonathan McEachnie. My pronouns are he and him. I'm with the Business Development Bank of Canada. So that's the BDC. Some of you may or may not have heard. Essentially what we do is we are a Crown corporation that focuses on providing services for Canadian entrepreneurs. So we're a bank for Canadian entrepreneurs. That's advisory services, venture capital, financing, et cetera. So that's what we do. And what I do at the BDC is I'm on the HR team. I'm a senior advisor for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And so what I do is essentially support our workforce. My client is our employees, and our employees are the ones that are going out to meet with our clients, the external. So we have to make sure that those employees feel included, they feel heard, they feel understood, they have a sense of belonging, they have representation, and not just representation, they have opportunities for development and growth and just bringing their magic to the organization. So I've been in the financial industry for 20 plus years. A lot of the time the work related to diversity has been at the side of my desk. It's a second job. I'm just so grateful that the position that I have, this is my primary job. Now I get to actually continue to contribute to advancement of inclusivity. And born and raised in Toronto, of proud Trinidadian heritage, so I'll just put that on the table from now. Trini Massive. It may get referenced later on in this talk, but grateful to be here. Thank you, Nicole, and thank you everybody for joining.
All right, so we're gonna go into our question box here. Which one of y'all are single? I'm joking. That's not a question. All right. What message do you have for black men struggling silently with their mental health today?
That's a very deep question, but
You guys can go first, and then I'll ask.
That's your question, so you answer, and we have other questions afterwards, right?
No, we're all.
We're here to support you. Yeah, so you get started, and we'll jump right in.
So why y'all up here now?
I'll start.
This was your idea, Troy.
I'll start. I'll start it off. So, let me read the question. All right. So, what message do I have? I think there's no one answer to this question. I think when we're dealing with mental health, in many conversations, it's homogenized. I think many of us look at it as just one thing, but it's multifaceted. And I think we have to be mindful of the individual when we're having those discussions about mental health. For black men, I think we also have to think through an intersectional lens. The black community is not a monolith, right? And it's really important to acknowledge social class, age, sexuality, when we're even having these conversations of mental health. A lot of my work focuses on social class. My research, particularly working with marginalized black men between the age of 14 and 25. One of the things that was, relevant to the key discussions of the research was that privilege is a thing, right? As a black man, I can sit up here with this hat, dressed down to how. Do I look good? Am I dressed good? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Need a nod of confidence. Anywho, but I can sit here, have this conversation, but these young men who I was interviewing, they cannot. They don't have access to this space because it's based on what they know, how they feel they see themselves in the room. But number two, it's about, do you even have the funds to get into a space like this, right? So I think answering this question with a one answer is problematic. I think we have to be very mindful of the individual. So I'll stop there and then see where my colleagues here on stage tie into what I've said.
Okay. Me, when I think about what message I would want to give to black men, the first thing that I know is that as a black man, we grew up knowing that we're supposed to be providers. We're supposed to be protectors. We're supposed to walk with pride. But we never hear that black men can cry too. Black men can actually be vulnerable, and it can be okay to be. Me, I feel that I'm lucky, I'm blessed to have grown with a father that was able to feel. I wasn't scared to cry, not because he was losing control, but just because he was human. And what it showed me growing up is that, okay, you can actually ask for help. You can actually say sorry. And I understood that the more I was able to get in touch with what's inside, with the demons that I was facing, with the dark places of my heart, the more I was able to understand the people around me too. There's a lot of women in the room, but the question I want to ask you is that how many women wants to have a man that can actually feel? Because when a man can feel, the man can actually also understand your feeling as well. And it's not easy, guys, for real. It's not easy to be a black man, to carry all the weight of society, of your skin color and everything, and actually feel what's inside. But I feel that doing this work, facing yourself head on, is the first step to be able to truly face the world afterwards. So the message I would give today is vulnerability is actually strength. It is. And we'll talk about it throughout this podcast. Yeah.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. To kind of complement what you were saying, I didn't have a father in the household. I was raised by my mother, thankfully, you know, a lot of the teachings that your father gave you, my mother was able to, and I think, you know, to the females in this room, you have been doing this job from the beginning for your sons, your daughters, your children, your community, giving them these foundational values. And so I think for me, being raised by a single mother who was very open and honest with me, I learned about vulnerability. I learned about communication. I didn't have a projection of what masculinity was supposed to be within my household, which allowed me to create it for myself. And interesting enough, the references to masculinity that I had, to being a black male, came externally. It came from television. It came from music. It came from hip hop, R&B. But like if I think about my male role models or father figures, I think about people like Cliff Huxtable, not Bill Cosby. Cliff Huxtable. I think about Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince. I think about Carl Winslow. You know, these were all men that were there for their families, and they were also men that were open to growing and learning, and then listening. So, for me, the advice I would give to black men who are struggling, the vulnerability is a big piece. It's hard. It's easy, you know, once you've kind of been there and you've experienced vulnerability, and it gets easier as you do it. But it's sometimes it seems insurmountable to just take that first step to talk to somebody. And I have very close friends, brothers, that have completely isolated themselves in anxiety and depression. And you try to reach them, and they just can't make that first step. So I would say lean on your community, lean on your family. Make that first step. It doesn't have to be a perfect step, but just talk to somebody and start there.
I think my message to black men is that you are enough because God designed you to be enough. And I know a lot of times in our community, people are like, oh, mental health and God, but like for me, it's just like, yo, if I'm designed by something the Creator made me to create, I understand like why I'm here. And a lot of times, a lot of us, you know, and also not growing up having a father and stuff. So it's interesting that I talked about this the other day, and you know, I guess I'll get super vulnerable really quickly. I never had my father in my life, so I felt like a void was missing. So I've always wanted to be a great father. And my son's in the room at the back on his iPad playing. But what I didn't see was marriage. So I wanted to be a great father, but I failed at marriage. Because it's not something that I was like, I ever saw. And I ever like, because you never saw it, you never wanted it, but I knew I was missing the love of a father. But when it comes to like relationships, stuff like that, a lot of times we're trying to fill voids and fill voids with the things that we're missing and stuff like that. So we're great in one area and we're not great in another area. And it's just like, yo, my brothers, like, just learning, I have to like let my brothers know, and some of my men's, or my guys are here from Iron Sharpens Iron. It's just like, you know, the concept message every month that we share is like, yo, we have to be enough. You know what I mean? Because when we're outside in the world, we're not enough. You know what I mean? So in our own homes, in our own communities, like, we have to be enough for each other. And that would be my message for black men and mental health.
I'm going to get controversial.
Let's do it.
This idea of vulnerability it's not easy. Have we met? Yeah, you. I met you up there? I met your picture. Okay. Let me ask you this. Where do you live? Montreal. Address? No. Why not? Oh, come on, just tell me. No. Why not? But why? Vulnerability? That's your answer? Okay. I guess it's trust? Well, you don't trust me? The hat does not make me a trustworthy person?
But also, I'm also Dr. Clarke, so you might take my person.
Your last name's Clarke? You're from Barbados?
Yes.
So tell me where you live. Isn't that enough now? Okay, let's stop playing again. We'll talk after. But point I'm trying to make here, folks, is it's not easy being vulnerable, right? And I struggle answering that question because if we're going to give a one shoe fits all answer to black men, we're not doing justice, right? And it's not to say your vulnerabilities are not important on the stage, but the four of us never grew up together. You know, I appreciate you sharing your story. I was raised by a single parent, you know, so the way how I experience life and what you experience is two different worldviews, right? So, and the other thing too, when we're talking about this concept of vulnerability, I think as those who want to be in spaces with black men who are being vulnerable, we have to know we're doing a duty for them as well, right? We need to show up. As an example, I went to my brother Troy's Iron versus. I didn't stay long. I'm sorry. I was tired. I really was. Kids. Anywho, I went to my brother Troy's Iron Sharpens Iron program yesterday. First time. I've never been there before. I've heard great things. But as soon as I entered the room, the first thing that went in my head was like, this is a safe space. You know what I mean? Like I felt it. I didn't have to ask permission. No one had to tell me this was a safe space. But entering there and then hearing the conversations, that could never happen just because you walked in there. That took months, if not years, to establish. You understand what I mean? So to then go into answer this question and be like, oh, no offense, no offense, no offense, but here's the answer, then we're not looking at the human being. We're just looking at the social construction idea of who that human being is and thinking they deserve an answer. You know what I mean? So I encourage us, if we're going to take this question on, let's critically engage it, let's think deeper and not just give an answer. Because if we give an answer, we're not doing justice.
I think that's a fair point, and I don't think it's controversial at all. And I think it needs to be said. And I think the thing to remember is the four of us, we're going to give our answers. We're not going to give one answer, right? So each of these perspectives are important because you may be listening in the room or online, and hopefully you'll be able to identify with one of the four of us or all of the four of us, but you'll be able to hopefully take something away.
Great point.
All right, I'm going to read the next question. What role does mentorship play in fostering better mental health among black men in professional spaces?
Maybe I'll start off, and I think maybe because you mentioned at the beginning you had a lot of programming and initiatives, so I'm actually very curious to hear about your experience as well, Dr. Clarke.
Warren is fine.
Warren.
And if you could fund our initiatives, we'll talk later.
So what I would say, I'll just say personally, for me, one of the mentors I had, I was blessed and fortunate, privileged enough to have at a past employer, was an executive vice president who happened to be a black male. And how we were able to connect, it happened very organically. We were at a diversity initiative held by the company, and we just had a conversation. I wasn't seeking a mentor. I don't think he was seeking a mentee. But it happened organically. We had a connection. And so he said, reach out to me and we'll have coffee. And from that coffee, it became a mentorship relationship. Why it was important to me was there was nobody like me in those positions up until that point. I had never seen it. And many of us know sometimes you need to see it to believe it. And I didn't see that. But not only was it me seeing and having interactions with him important, but he saw something in me. And I wasn't used to leaders, especially at that level, even seeing me. He saw something in me. And in our mentorship sessions, he would bring me to head office. We'd be at the large boardroom. He'd put me to sit at the head of the table. And he gave all of his executives pre-warning or instructions, make sure that you're speaking in plain language, that you're explaining yourself, and that you're giving John an opportunity to engage. He set the tone. And it gave me a sense of I guess, it reaffirmed, it gave me, I felt valued, I felt seen, And I took that experience with me. I've been a mentee, I've been a mentor, and I just try to recreate that as best as possible, create those spaces. I had never sat in a space like that before, and I've since sat in spaces like that, and I try to do him justice and just each one teach one, just carrying forward that gift that he gave me.
All right, I'll jump in. So just reading back the question again, what role does mentorship play in fostering better mental health among Black men in professional spaces? So I've actually been talking about this for this past year, and a lot of our allies, or W folks, they use this word called nepotism. So, which means that they look out for each other, and they're looking out for their family, their friends, they're hiring them positions and stuff like that. I've always been blessed to have great mentors ever since like working at record labels and stuff like that. But I've also been, I don't want to say privileged, because like quitting my job, living in New York, living in Atlanta, those are things that I chose to do. And not a lot of people will do that work to get to where they need to be. So I found great mentors, people who've always looked out for me. And it helped me with my mental health, because you should always have a mentor. You can't be the smartest person in your circle. You need to have people around you who are encouraging you to be better, and you need to have people who are going to inspire you. So if I can point at your 5 friends and see that like where the direction in life is going, I could generally tell you where you're going to end up, you know. But I've been blessed to have like many allies as well too outside of Black, who have helped me in many different spaces, and just even coming from, you know, where I grew up, just having different opportunities. But I think that every Black male, you know, hopefully should have a mentor. And a mentor doesn't just have to look like, you know, a CEO or vice president. It could be somebody from the community. It could be, you know, community builders. Like Warren's been a mentor of mine as well too. And yeah, well, congratulations. You know, and because what we're doing now is we're bringing each other into spaces. You know, a brother of ours who died recently this year, Louis March, he was an advocate of that. He's like, you know, Troy, like we need to be the intersection for a lot of these young people. You know, let's get them before they get to the guns. Let's get them before they're, you know, dying in the streets. And how can we do that? We need to go into the spaces where they are and you know, build community with them, build village with them. And I learned the strength of having a nonprofit just from my mentors, because that's how we can talk to each other. You know, like Warren has been like, hey, bro, come with me to Barbados. We're going to go do this barbershop talk down there. I can say, Warren, let's you know, get you to Toronto to speak on BLAXPO. Like, mentorship is such a huge thing in our community that that we need to do more of. And, you know, I really think it's going to be beneficial for us in the future as well, too, if we just have like these kind of programmings. Please take over, because now I'm just like blah, blah, blahing.
Well, I'm super humbled. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's very difficult for me to see myself as a mentor, because I really think I'm 25 still, but clearly I'm not. Anywho, thanks for not agreeing to that, because it made me feel super sad. Yes, my daughter thinks my corny jokes are awesome, right? I see you. No, can I be vulnerable with y'all?
Yeah. Sure. Yes, please.
I'll be vulnerable with you. Thank you, I appreciate you. I'll ask again, because, you know, vulnerability is a two-way street, that we spoke about, right? So let me ask again. 1, 2, 3. Can I be vulnerable with y'all?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I feel safe. This is a safe space. Thank you. Appreciate it. So I had a mentor who passed away. His name was Jim Hayher Sr. I talk about him a lot because he meant so much to me. But, you know, he was not a Black man. He was a white man. And the one thing that was so special between the mentor-mentee relationship between Hearst, we called him Hearst for short, is that he humanized me. And that's one thing that I think we miss the mark when we're talking with Black folk, is how do we humanize the Black individual? Because being human and tied to Blackness is never been perceived as a positive or perceived as tied to one another, worldly. So I think with my relationship with Hearst, that was the first step, is him humanizing me and then seeing my potential, right? Without Hearst, there's no Dr. Warren Clarke. I'll tell you that right now. And I was very fortunate, similar to what you had mentioned, my friend, to be in rooms and give public talks and to be a part of board meetings and to be around Toronto's affluent crowd because of Hearst. But what was so meaningful with our relationship was those moments we met at Tim Hortons. We just met at Tim Hortons for half an hour. I had a hot chocolate, he had a hot chocolate, and we just talked, right? And those moments of talking, it was reaffirming that, Warren, I see you as a human. I don't see you as this black little boy who needs help from this white man, right? But I'll say this about Hearst, right? Hearst, he taught me how to live, he taught me how to love, but he also taught me how to appreciate life. And that means appreciating people who come into our lives, even if it's for a short while. So mentoring is a huge part, but I would definitely tie in humanizing the individual. I would also tie in that, as mentors to mentees, we're not going to have the right thing to say all the time, but the most important thing is recognize you can ask a question and also recognize your ignorance. There's no harm in that. I have grad students coming to me all the time, and I'm just like, I love your research, I love the direction your project's going, but I'm just not the right fit. And that's okay, right? Because if I can mentor them to the next person who can add value to their life or their research, then that's part of mentorship, is to let go. You know what I mean? I've had black affluent, I'm going to mention no names. We don't do that here, right? But I have had black affluent folk look at me and be like, I need to mentor you. I'm sorry, did I scare you? You flexed real hard just now. I did that out of nowhere, right?
Stays flexed.
But, grabbing my arm literally and just like, I need to mentor you. Oh my God. And I'm looking at this person, I'm like, if you don't get your hand off me, homie, like, this is uncomfortable. But some people get involved in this mentee relationship for their own benefit. You know what I mean? That's how this usually goes. But for me, right, like, I'm going to call you, I'm sorry, Kevin, I got to do it. You know what I mean? Like, one of my students is here today. I think the world of this guy. He is, like, I am so proud of you. You know what I mean? I'm getting goosebumps telling you this, you know what I mean? But I got to let him go. You know what I mean? I got to let him go explore the world. You know what I'm saying? And, maybe one day he'll come back and be like, Warren, let's work on this together. And I trust that day will come. You know what I mean? But to be a great mentor is to actually let that mentee explore the world. Give them the advice so they can go and test their limits. Anybody like to read? You should. You're in the library. Write this down, folks. Go ahead. You have phones. Take them all out. Not you. You have a child in your hand, so you're exempt. The Alchemist. If you haven't read it, read it.
Maktub.
Right? I'll leave you with that. I drop gems, so there you go.
Thank you. Thank you. What I would say about mentorship, I think that in my life, mentorship helped me to see my value. In med school, in Quebec, it's even worse than in Ontario, let me tell you. There is less than 3% of black doctors in Canada, and in Quebec, it's even less. And I was able to flourish in med school when I was able to understand what I could bring to them. Like mentorship, seeing black doctors flourishing in their field, show me that me, with my difference, I could bring something, and I wasn't only someone that would only just pass by hospitals, but I had something that I could bring. And I feel that having mentors is useful to get higher in life, but also to have a balanced life. I heard people tell me, Drice, in your life, med school is not your life, it's part of your life. So if you put everything that you have into work, when your work will stop, what will you become? So I had mentors that told me, no, you need to invest in your family. You need to invest in your relationship with God. You need to invest in your friendship. You need to invest in other things so that when one aspect of your life lets you down, you have other aspects that you can bounce back on. So I feel that having mentors is key, but not only for work, but having mentors that see like 360 degrees so that you can have a balanced life, because life is all about running a marathon. It's not about running a high-speed race. You need to get to the end one step at a time. And I feel that we need either to have many mentors that can mentor you in many aspects of your life, or have a mentor that can see these different aspects and that doesn't neglect mental health, that doesn't neglect maybe physical health, and that helps you get onto this journey of life better. So that's what I would say.
Okay. All right, so moving on. Time check. Just want to check the time. We're good? 5-10 minutes? Okay, so maybe we'll get through one question and then we'll get to Q&A. Okay.
Or maybe 1%.
Y'all wants to go longer? See? I know, you see? I see you.
Maybe 1% can answer one question, another person answer another question.
Okay. Maybe one question, two guys, and then another question,
Yeah, okay.
two. So,
If I have something to say, can I just chime in?
no.
Okay.
I'm joking. Of course. How do you personally manage the mental toll that comes with being a leader or professional in a high-stress environment?
Can I go? I got a lot to say on this one. Am I talking too much? Okay. Can I swear?
My son's in the room.
Oh, no, I can't. My bad. I forgot. I got excited. My bad. All right.
Maybe
I'm not going to swear.
The A word?
No, I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to swear. I say F it. I work in a very bureaucratic university, like many universities. And I've learned to just sail to my island, which is my office, and cut out the noise. I just try not to bother with it, to be honest with you. Did it happen overnight? No. But it's a strategy that's helped me cope over the years, and just do my own thing. When my colleagues are asking me questions like, oh, how'd you get that grant? Oh, you're going to another conference? Oh, you just published? I look at them as like, I don't want to talk to you, and I'm going to go to my office. And it's not because I'm being rude. It's not because like I don't care, but I have to survive in this academic space. And as I will now use the term as a black man, respectfully, in a white-dominated space, it's survival of the fittest for me. I'm the only black male, black person in my department, in the Faculty of Arts doing the work that I do, in Winnipeg, out of all places. But I make the best out of it. And I think, but you also have to find allies. My last thing, you have to find allies within your workspaces. It doesn't mean they have to be black. It doesn't mean they have to be whatever race or sexuality, or gender. But to survive in a workplace like mine, it's been very strategic, and having to continue to be strategic every day when going in there. And there's moments where I go in there and people don't even know I'm in my office. I just sneak through the back, right? So it's been more of being strategic, and doing the work that I do, but tying myself to folk who complement the work that we can do together. So I'll say that.
I'll just ask another question so we can try to run through.
Can I jump in?
Oh, okay, well then that's great.
Yeah. So how I do it, and so in my career I've had the highs, the lows. I would say I've experienced many different degrees on the spectrum of burnout, including what I would consider rock bottom. And what I've learned from that's actually given me strength, because it let me know what my boundaries were, and it let me know why it's so important for me to advocate for myself, to fight for myself, for what I have, to love myself, to be that in every space. And I also have a tendency to be a bit of a perfectionist, and many of you might share that in the room, because we've had to be perfect, or this perception of being perfect. We have that added pressure. So I think Troy had mentioned it earlier about, you being enough that's something that I've had to come to terms with, and just show up and do my best, and that's good enough. And let go. It is very hard to let go of what could come out of that, but I've seen it time and time again that when I show up, I'm present, I lead with love, compassion, and I let go. It's good enough. It's going to be an outcome. Things are going to be outside of my control, and that's okay. This is all part of my journey, and so, kind of to your point, like the effort, I'm totally about that effort, because it doesn't matter. I've done my best. I've showed up, and that's it. And then I go home and I make sure that I have, sorry, I'll just.
I just want to say I appreciate you and you sharing, right?
Yeah.
And can I add value to that?
Please.
Thank you. Everybody heard the concept of John Henryism? I know, Kevin, I know you really spoke about last night. So this idea that as black folk, particularly black men, we have to work harder to be recognized, and harder meaning to escape the tensions and the pressures of anti-black racism. That is a very dangerous concept to be involved in as a black person. You'll send yourself mad. Hence the reason I'm at this point in my life, my stage in my career, to be it, right? Because, as you mentioned, being a perfectionist, that's something that, I did for many years. While I was in grad school, I was like, man, I gotta get all A's here. I gotta get through this program like the shining star. Oh, and then when I got hired, I was like, whew, oh, man, I gotta keep working. But working is actually working towards the benefit of my health and my mental health particularly. You know what I mean? So I want folks to really be mindful of how you're leading your professional lives. Because no matter what you do, like Frantz Fanon says, you can't rid your skin of the blackness. You can't escape the bush. No matter what you wear, no matter how affluent you are, you still represent yourself as black in the white colonized world. You know what I mean? So it's really important to recognize this idea of John Henryism, because you'll send yourself mad. You'll send yourself to the hospital. So please take care of yourself. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
I guess last question, then Q&A? Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. How can we as a community help dismantle the narrative that asking for help makes men weak?
You want to go first, or should I go first?
Oh, you can go first, then I'll go.
Okay. The example that I would give is, let's compare mental health for a minute. If we see tomorrow somebody that has a broken leg, bleeding out, I'm sure that everybody in the room would take that person and run towards an hospital, because that person needs help. But why is it that when we speak about mental health, we don't have the same reflex? Me, I work in hospitals, so I see what depression can look like. I see what it can look like when somebody, the only thing that this person is thinking from the moment he wakes up until the moment he goes to bed is, how can I kill myself? I see that. I see people losing contact with reality, full-blown in psychosis. So I see the damage that mental health can do. And I feel that us as a community, every person here should understand that mental health is quite serious. And now we talk about black men's mental health. Just to give you some quick statistics. Women globally are 4 times more likely than men to attempt suicide. Let's flip this 1 second. Men are 4 times more likely to complete suicide, to actually end their life. Why? It's because men keep in so much emotions, so much, you don't talk about it. And when it comes out drastically. And when I see it, I saw many, like, maybe old people and stuff that committed suicide. When they were men, most oftentimes their family members would say, oh, I didn't know that he was going through out of this. I knew that he had more work at work. Like, I knew that he had this, and that, but he never showed me that he was hurting. And I'm like, wow, we should be able to speak to each other so that people could see some red flags, could see things. Because if we compare this like to hypertension, if you have mild hypertension, what will you do? You'll do exercise. You'll have a better diet. You'll reduce salt. If you have mild depression, mild anxiety, you can go to psychotherapy. You can speak with someone. And if the hypertension is more severe, sometimes you need to take medication. And if depression is more severe, sometimes you need to take medication too. And it's not a bad thing to do. It's actually ensuring, like, putting some guarantee on yourself so that you can actually live longer with the people you love. So I feel that depression is a silent killer in a community. And us talking about it like this is actually uplifting our community up. And actually, if we can do this, share this, speak about it, it will help us all. So that's what I would say, actually.
Thank you for sharing, and I'll share really quickly. As my brother, Dr. Warren, said many times, can I be vulnerable with y'all? Thank you. So a lot of times in our community, you know, especially in my Caribbean community, you want to talk about mental health or stuff like that. You know, it's getting better now because we're starting to get it. But it was first, it's like, what wrong with you? Go drink some tea. Go sit down, go to church, go pray. You know what I mean? Go pray the mental health away or whatever it might be. But yeah, the past few years, of course, going through, you know, life situations. And thank you for mentioning that. I actually had to go on antidepressants because life was getting too hard. But I didn't know how to communicate this to people. I didn't know, like, my dark was getting really dark. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm in this low place. And yea, though I had my comfort and safety of my brotherhood and my church community group members, it was just like, it was hard. And like, you know, I think this is why we need to have more safe spaces among each other. But like Dr. Warren was right, because like you can't just be vulnerable with everybody. Iron sharpens iron. It took like 10 years to build. And, you know, there would be days where like, yo, bro, I feel like committing suicide. So it's just like we need to drop everything we do and need to go run to our brother because he's about to jump off a bridge. That's how heavy it gets. And none of us are therapists. None of us are like counselors. We're just like there for each other as men. You know, so when I do hear these notions about like, oh, you need to be a man and men aren't supposed to be weak, it's just like he said, 4 times, because 4 times as much that brothers will actually end their own lives. And I've had, you know, my first cousin, I can name a few names of brothers that I've lost because of suicide. Because like, you know, they're too weak to handle life when really suicide is actually a very strong thing to do. You know what it takes to leave this life, to leave all this family. I know it could be a selfish thing, and you know, I don't want to get into, you know, any like debates about it, but like, is when a man gets to that point where he wants to give up, it's a very very dark place to be. And I've been in those places before. So I really feel that like we need to encourage each other, encourage our youth, and like try to find different words to say. You're not weak, you're strong, you can handle this, you know? Life is lifing for a lot of us right now. And, you know, a lot of us are dressed up in these beautiful clothes we do not know we're going home to, you know? And just even speaking to my younger brother, Kevin there, you know, we had a great conversation in Barbados about precursors, you know, about the things that you're given, the things that you're around, the things that surround you, you amplify or you could become like. So I think that we have the opportunity to do this, to talk on these panels are changing that. You know what I mean? And I'm just so thankful for young brothers like him pouring into my life as, you know, we're here pouring into each other. And thank you so much for that information because statistics are very important. We need these things. So, yeah, I guess with that said, if we're going to go into our Q&A because I'm seeing my lovely timekeeper keeping time.
Show love. Show love. That's all time. Show love.
Thank you.
All right, so right now is our official lunch break. So if you have to go and get your lunch, that's okay. But right now we're going to continue with Q&A. You can just raise your hand and I'll come to you. We'll probably do 5 questions max, just, yeah.
Hi, my name is Wes.
Hey, Wes, how you doing?
Hey, brother. Wes. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. So my question for you guys would just be, I feel like when you're talking about mental health, environment plays a big role into that. But I feel like, you know, people within our community, we're always constantly in this like state of like survival, you know what I'm saying? So like, and it's normal because, you know, you have a system that's designed to like oppress you, you know, you got people in the hood, you know, who's looking to, you know, line you up and stuff like that. So in all fronts, you kind of feel boxed in. So how do you kind of like break free from that conditioning of like, you know, that survival's mindset to, you know, start catering to, you know, your mental health and all that type of stuff?
Can I give you a story real quick?
Yes,
and
sir.
I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing with us. You know, I was telling a lot of my backstory to you know, Kevin and my son who's sitting there. You know, my oldest daughter who knows a lot about my backstory. Everyone has an origin story, you know what I mean? And, you know, I grew up in the hood, right? And if I don't tell you, you would know. A lot of people who meet me, particularly my colleagues, they swear I'm from this affluent family who's got doctorates. But no, man, I grew up in the hood, and I did hood shit. Oh, my bad. You know, so, yeah, my bad. But for me, I had to get on my Batman Begins. You know what I mean? Meaning, if you watch that movie, which is a great movie, by the way, so if you didn't watch it, you need to go watch it. But meaning that I had to just leave things behind. I had to start my own journey elsewhere. You know what I mean? And that's why I recommended The Alchemist, because it's about a path. And that's one thing that I will say with a lot of young black Torontonian boys in terms of who I've mentored in the past and continue to. It's been a struggle for them to understand where their path is, because all they know is Toronto. Do you know what I mean? But like I mentioned earlier, like I had a great mentor who pushed me to see my humanness, pushed me to see my potential. Do you understand what I mean? Like I said, if there's no Hearst, there's no Dr. Warren Clarke. I'll tell you that right off the bat. So if I was going to suggest anything to anybody in terms of, you know, how to find your path, I think the one thing you got to do is you got to start believing in yourself. Right? Let me ask a quick question, right? If you don't feel like answering, you don't got to answer this question. But out of 10, how many of you love yourself 10 out of 10? How many of yourself love yourself 9 out of 10? 8 out of 10. That is the first step right there, folks. You got to love yourself unconditionally. It's not going to happen overnight. I can guarantee you that. But practice it. I encourage you to. Now, everybody's going through something different, you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to supersede what people are going through. So I appreciate even folks that put up their hand. But get on your Terrell Owens and love me some me, right? Like if you start there, then you can start believing in yourself. And if you start believing in yourself, then you start seeing your potential, right? But you have to practice it. You have to normalize that. You get what I mean? You got to be around people that feed that back into you. You know what I mean? So it's really important to start to set your foundation on understanding loving yourself conditionally. And then when you start loving yourself unconditionally, you're going to love people around you unconditionally. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to be weird as shit. Watch. Oh, my bad. Man. Like, watch this. I love you. I love you. I love you. But I'm not loving intimacy. I'm loving their humanness. That's a difference. You know what I mean? You got to understand the degrees of love. You know what I mean? Once you start putting those building blocks in, you're going to start seeing yourself in a different light, in a positive light. But you got to start it.
Oh, man. Okay, I know because of time. So we'll just continue. One answer per question, I guess.
Okay, I'm done.
Is there another question?
I love you, bro.
So, my name is Jelani. And how much is, or how important is the influence of others that are not like ourselves in the development of a holistic view of mental health? So all of you have touched upon this concept, and you said it about Kevin as well. Like at some point, we start with your tribe and the persons who look like yourselves, and this is the space that reflects that. But when you go beyond that and it's time to let them go, how do you create that? How do you guys incorporate that in your programming to show others that, you know, we need to have other perspectives to develop good conflict resolution skills, to allow you to develop your mental health in a way that is not just we know how to operate amongst black men, but we also know how to operate in concepts of marriage with the women in the crowd who exist to hopefully support us, with the Dr. Hearst who may be not culturally relevant to us, but see us and love us as people and are therefore there in place for us to grow with them or through them. How much is that is woven into the kind of things that you talk about and you push forward with youth and people who are seeking mental health? And Drice, in your case, from a more medical perspective, I'd love to kind of hear how that weaves into all of it.
I just want to acknowledge Troy was actually starting to talk about that, but I want Troy to elaborate. You know, like, I'm sorry if I'm dominating right now, but I'm really loving this space and the questions and the responses. Love you, brothers over here. You know, like, Troy and I have been working together for years. You know what I mean? Like, we started in the ground and we're coming up. You know what I mean? But I want you to elaborate on that because you were talking about that.
Great listener, by the way. Great listener.
You know, like, I'm not strong in all categories. You know what I mean? I'm ignorant to something. Ignorance is not a bad thing. Willfully ignorance is. Know the difference, all right? But Troy is in his field doing, he's an expert, and I'm in my field doing what I do, and I'm an expert. But when I come and say, Troy, I got this project, you know what I mean? I need you. Troy's bringing his expertise to add value. You know what I mean? And I think that's where it starts in terms of helping mentor people, helping develop the project, right? And the same vice versa. So I think that's where that starts in terms of, you know, building, supporting, but also letting go. You know what I mean? Because there's, like, you know, Kevin, I'm sorry, bro. We just keep calling your name here, but, you know, I just want to give you a round of applause, homie. You know, but I will. Oh, see, I got you. But when Kevin's having those conversations with Troy, I ain't there for it. I didn't even know they were talking about that stuff. But it all started because I connected with Troy and said, yo, come on to Winnipeg. We got this going on, right? So I think we got to understand where our strengths are and our weaknesses are, and work with people who can complement us. So I just want to, I'm not sure if I answer your question, but I think that complements or answers some of the question.
And just to really tag team off of that. So it always comes back, like, you know, full circle for me, because we're doing a barbershop talk tomorrow. And it's funny because Nigel is one of our brothers over there from Iron Sharpens Iron, and he's an educator as well. He's an educator as well too. So now it's just like Nigel's at Iron Sharpens Iron. Warren's having a barbershop talk tomorrow, and then hey, we're gonna bring on Nigel on the panel tomorrow to talk about his experiences in education and racism and stuff like that, and the misconceptions of black men. So it's just like, if we don't do this between each other, we're just going to be all in silos. And I think, like, it's something from Toronto. I don't know how it is in, you know, Montreal, whatever as well too. But, like, it's like we do not get anything out of being selfish. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't provide us any benefit. I heard this amazing thing yesterday, and please forgive me if I quote wrong. A plum tree doesn't eat plums. An apple tree doesn't eat apples. What it's given is water, right? And then that fruit that comes from the tree is meant for everybody else. So the fruit that we're giving here is for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, because me having all this knowledge and all this information and stuff like that, and connects and you know, gatekeeping and all this kind of stuff, it's what I'm gonna do, die with all this stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Like, die empty, you know? So
pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Yeah, thank you guys for your answers. For real, really interesting. And what I would just add to complement that is, I feel that in order to talk about black men's mental health, we need to understand what are the barriers to why do we talk about this? Because there's a lot of barriers. First of all, stigmas. Mental health is so stigmatized in the black community. And that comes from really far. Like, when I think about my community, my parents are from Cameroon. And growing up, what I heard about black men's mental health or black people's mental health is either you're normal or either you're crazy. And if you're crazy, you get thrown out of your house, you get chained up, you get this, and that. So knowing that, we understand why people don't want to have treatment. People don't want to go see therapists. People don't want to care about this because of what they heard. The second thing is, many people that want to seek mental health services don't think that the professional is going to understand them. Don't feel that maybe this white lady or this white folk is going to understand where I'm coming from. If I'm from the hood, how is he going to understand? If I lived racism, how is he going to understand? that's why I think that these kind of places should build us up to become professionals that can give back to a community. Here I'm with my center, which is called Alternative, founded by Regine, which is back there, which is a center that is made by us for us, made by people that look like us to treat people that look like us too. Because there's one thing about knowing how to treat mental health and knowing that culture affects mental health too. And having mental health professionals that can actually understand that where you come from, your immigration path, it actually affects your mental health. And how can I understand how your religion affects how you see life? It's actually important so that people can actually feel that they receive care that is actually suited for them. So I really encourage everybody to actually take the contact, even if it's not for you, maybe it's for your brother or for your sister, but to have somewhere that you can go, that you can call, that you can email, so that you can receive services that is actually suited for y'all. And I feel that together, we can try to dismantle this taboo around mental health. One step at a time. It's going to be hard. Like my brother here said, it took 10 years to build hirons. But it's 10 years that we're giving back to the next generation. So one step at a time, guys.
Can I just add one?
Go ahead.
So amazing. I'm just going to add.
I'll just say, thank you everybody for coming, and thank you for the panelists. It's been amazing. You guys can continue talking. I'm just going to officially end it now, because I know there's going to be a lot more questions after. Right now, we just want to say thank you. We have a little gift for all of you guys.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm so humble.
Thank you.
Tim's, oh shoot, look at this. What? Okay, I'm going to open it right now. I don't, thank you. I'm so humble. Appreciate you.
This is great. And you know what? Ending the conversation here is good so that we can keep the conversation going. So
Yes.
Thank you so much. This is great.
Feel free to continue to connect and speak with the speakers, but in the spirit of mental health, we have put a hard stop for lunch this year. So please go eat, nurture yourselves, because there's a lot going on. It's overstimulating, and we forget to take care of ourselves throughout the day. So please go and do that and connect with the speakers. Thank you.